Walking Stick Library presents Should I Buy Gold? With your librarian hostess with the mostest, Eileen Kramer. And remember, you can catch this stream live on Twitch. Come on back. This is Dr. Jason Dean. I don't know if he's an MD. I've never looked. This is Fred Dashevsky from uscoincapital.com. And here they go.
Now,
Hey there.
wow, that was annoying.
You know what? Technology is great, and then technology is also a pain in the butt sometimes because the machines, for some reason, have to be restarted off and on.
Yes, apparently that's what it took. I tried to do a show actually this morning with Patrick, ended up doing it on the phone because we had the same problem.
Oh, are you on a PC or a Mac?
I am on well, it's a hybrid.
It's a hybrid. It's a hybrid. You know what I was just teaching them while you were jumping on? I was teaching them how they should, if they have money sitting in the bank, like whether it's $10,000, $100,000, or even more, that money is literally rotting away, and they should either be in gold, silver, or in businesses or real estate or something that is not losing its value overnight. I don't know if you fully agree with that, but that's my mindset.
Well, of course, I fully agree with that. And, here's a good example of that. What's happening in Russia, which I don't want to get too far into, but imagine if you were a Russian citizen and your money was in the Russian banks and you were holding Russian rubles. Well, the ruble lost 30% of its value this week, 20% last week. That means you've taken a 50% haircut of all the money you had in your banking account in less than 2 weeks because of a governmental issue that you have no control over. The value of money predicated on only paper is...
I'm going to hold here for a second. If I'm Russian and I have my money in the Russian bank and there are big sanctions against Russia, aren't most of the goods I'm going to buy Russian? And the money's not going to leave the country, so its foreign exchange rate may not mean that much, especially when it's very hard to import goods to Russia because of the sanctions. Let's go.
Subject to wild volatility and changes if the sustaining entities don't do a good job of controlling it. And, we're just lucky in the United States that the Federal Reserve has better control over monetary policy. But, we're losing value in the United States rapidly, but it's spread out over time to where the impact isn't quite as exacerbated. But yeah, I mean, that ruble is a perfect example of the flaw with carrying unbacked money.
That makes sense. Hey, Fred, it's good to see you again, buddy. How are you?
Oh, it's good to see you.
Fred Dashevsky, U.S. Coin Capital. I've been following him for so long. And the other day, it's just been so busy. And so I'm like, okay, I got to get Fred back on. And the other day it popped up because I saw somebody posting bullion bars again. And people out there are bragging about silver bullion bars. And I'm like, God, get into the numismatics. And then people ask me again, they're like, oh, well, I have tons of bullion. And I'm like, it's not bad. I mean, it's still silver, but there's a reason I'm in numismatics. I don't really feel like the government can come in and confiscating.
I don't blame you. Well, I look at the worlds of numismatics and gold and silver bullion, again, just to define that so people recognize what we're talking about. If you have a bar of silver or any round silver, gold, whatever, that has no monetary status, it was just something that was made intrinsically out of the metal, we call that bullion. There basically are a couple ways to look at it. I agree with your outlying premise, which is certainly it's better to have, some physical form of wealth like that than paper money. So, any form of silver that people have, if they happen to have bars and bullion, that's, better than money in forms of paper. But the advantages of owning a coin that's made of silver are twofold. First, the bullion market is federally regulated, and that means that the government owns that market to where they can impart regulations. So what stands right now is, for example, the fact that, let's say you sold me a bar of gold. Well, I am now required by federal law to file what they call a 1099-B with your name, social security number, and information. All that private info goes to IRS, and it reports as income. So you have to justify your cost basis, otherwise.
Okay. We've got a topic. It's a very different topic than what we had before. This time around, and again, I'm going to get the shapes out. Oh, what have we got? How about a hexagon this time? And I'm going to make this green because it's money. And I'm going to make this green because it's money. And look, there, that's better. And we need to be at 100%, so I'm making this very small, and we're going up to 100%. That's better. There we are. Now, oh heck, like that? Let's do that and make it a little bigger. And this is going to be, we're going to do buying gold, silver, coins. Okay, what do I want to know? Well, I want to know a fair amount. First thing I want to know is, first thing I want to know is, let me get another one of these made. First thing I want to know is, and I want to know keep my shape going, and I want to know how has it done over time. And I'm also going to want to know, because remember, I can buy one thing or I can buy another, but I can't, or I can buy some of one thing and some of another, but I can't buy, you know, once you spend your money $1 on gold, you don't spend it on something else. That's an opportunity cost, Econ 101, which I had. Econ 102, actually. How does it compare to other investments? And this is going to need to be made smaller. Crud. There we are. How does it compare to other investments? And the other thing, unfortunately, and I'm changing shapes here, and I'm going to change the inside color because we're changing tactics. This can be made a bit larger. Is Fred telling the truth about the taxes? And give everybody a shove here. And I'm going to make another one of these. Besides telling the truth about the taxes, I'm a little worried that how do I avoid scams? Okay. So we've got this over here. I'm going to slide us right into the main screen here. And we're going to, everything's kind of fluffy tonight. We're going to go look up some of this stuff. And first thing I want to do is see if we've got personal finance for dummies. Because this is a personal finance question. It really is. In the worst way imaginable. I like the way those link with each other. So let's see if we've got a copy of Personal Finance for Dummies online and see what it says about investing in metals. So I'm going to get something over here, and I'm going to get Google, and I'm going to go to GSU Library. And I am going to switch this to the catalog. And I want full access online. And they have one, and I don't care how old this is. This one was at the bottom of the recession. This one was just after the recession. This is a more modern one. This is 2018. Okay, way to go. This is in O'Reilly. And we'll see what it says about this stuff. And we have a whole bunch of stuff here, and we have an index. And I want to look for gold. And if I can't find gold, I'm going to find precious metals. C, D, and we work our way down, we work our way down, we work our way down. We work our way down, and we're still in the goals. Gold, page 200. Bitcoin. Off the beaten path, investment odds and ends. The investments that I discuss in this section sometimes belong on their own planet because they're not an ownership or lending vehicle. Here are the basics and on these other common but odd investments. Precious metals. Gold and silver have been used by many civilizations as currency or a medium of exchange. One advantage of precious metals as a currency is that they can't be debased by the government. Whether paper currency such as US dollars the government can simply print more. The process can lead to the devaluation of currency and inflation. Holdings of gold and silver can provide a so-called hedge against inflation. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, inflation rose dramatically in the United States. Boy, did it ever. I was in middle school at the time. This largely unexpected rise in inflation depressed stocks and bonds. Gold and silver, however, rose tremendously in value. In fact, more than 500% even after adjusting for inflation from 1972 to 1980. See Chapter 8. Such periods are unusual. Precious metals produced decent returns in the 2000s, but after peaking in 2011, which is right at the end of the recession, over many decades, precious metals tend to be lousy investments. Their rate of return tends to keep up with the rate of inflation but not surpass it, which means you break even. Tip: when you want to invest in precious metals as an inflation hedge, your best option is to do so through mutual funds or exchange-traded funds. Don't purchase precious metals futures. They are not investments. They're short-term gambles on which way gold or silver prices may head over a short period of time. I also recommend staying away from firms and shops that sell coins and bullion, not the soup, but bars of gold and silver. Even if you can find a legitimate firm, not an easy task. The cost of storing and insuring gold and silver is quite costly. You won't get good value for your money, and markups can be substantial. Ouch. So they're saying no. And we could do a little more. Actually, I would like to see how the price of gold has done over time. So what we're going to need is another window. Slide it over. And we could go to Fred St. Louis. I used to take econ students there. I have the econ professor whose name I can never remember. She had a long Indian name, and she worked at Dunwoody, and she told Amy what sources for students to use. Amy gave me the assignment. I learned what sources to use. So if we go to Fred St. Louis, and this hopefully will still stay in business after the cuts. This is another great database that's government run. This is run by the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve Economic Data, known as FRED. It lives in St. Louis, so it's the St. Louis Fed. And we can look at historical gold prices. Producer price index by industry, export price index, non-monetary gold, import price index, producer price index, wholesale price of coal, import price index. I'll just take the producer price index, and this goes from 1985 to 2017. And this is the export price index. Producer price index again, this is to 2021. That's even better. And you can look and see what gold has done. And there's a point where they don't show it for some reason. And you work your way along. You could actually take this and you can squish this any way you want. Right now I'm doing it this way, but you can take reset zoom. I can take this and go here, and I want to do the last 4 or 5 years since COVID, and you can see this peaked right after COVID and has dropped. It doesn't look like it always goes up. I mean, you would buy today. Today they say it went up again, but I don't believe it. Okay, so this gives you a rough idea that it has increased. 1985 was 100. It has quadrupled, at least quadrupled in price. But that doesn't tell you anything. Now, you know why that doesn't tell you anything. Hello, undamaged stickler. Yeah, I beat the spammers over the head. I hate them. Hate him to death. He's gone. But that doesn't need to be here. So, this doesn't tell you anything because you don't know how any of the other investments out there are doing. So, let's get over here, and we're going to want to run a very quick search and see if somebody, we actually can run this at Fred. And I'm going to put this at 100. I just want that at the very end. And yeah, that's what I want. What we're going to do is we're going to look for historical stock prices. Remember, you could get yourself an indexed fund. So that does the average of the stock prices. Historical stock prices. Or Dow Jones, for that matter. Could also be Dow Jones, couldn't it? In fact, I like that better. So let me move this out. Sometimes you just have to know. Dow Jones average, and we're going to take this over here, pick up my squiggle pen, and yeah, that was the wrong color. Try again, folks. Happens every night. And we're going to, that's not what I want. Thank you. Okay, and we're going to go over here, and we want what's in the middle. Because this will give us a rough idea if, you know, gold is really that good an investment. Now, there's another reason you would be buying gold, and we kind of want to put that on the back burner. You could be figuring the whole monetary system will collapse. People call this, and it's our little friend. There's our fan going around. This guy's about to get blown all over the place. That's SHTF. And in that kind of a situation, it's a whole other animal entirely. So we could do this even as a phrase, as a loose phrase. We can try. Let me get Fred back up. No results. Okay, we try it the old way. Actually, we can do this on Google. Okay. This is the last 5 years for the Dow Jones. And it's gone from 20,000 to 40,000. And if we wanted to do this further, we probably could get the 100-year chart from Macro Trends. And I don't want to be that far up. I want to be, say, about here. You can see the dip, you can see the recession, but it started out at about 16 and now it's at about 44. So, 3.5, it's not quite tripled, but it's going up. And some do way better than this. Some stocks will do way better than this. So 16 into it went from about 17 into the 40s. And if you go back further, let's say to the year 2000, let's say back, I want this to go further forward. You put this further forward, and you can see this started out at 2,500 in 1980, and now it is at 45,000. So if you think about the turn of the century, maybe, before the turn of the century, we were growing up, when I was growing up, but the Dow to hit 1,000 was considered amazing. You go back even further. When I was growing up, the Dow, hung around this. So stocks have increased amazingly. And stocks are business activity, which is what backs our currency. And you can look at other commodities. So again, if you have an index fund, you'll probably do as well as you do with gold. Meh. Meh, meh. I'm not a good giver of investment advice. People find this like the most exciting thing on the planet. You're probably laughing at it too. But there's people who just go crazy pushing papers. Not me, but that's me. And you can see it dipped at COVID, but it never went all the way back. It never went even back to where it was at the beginning of the century. So it's been very resistant to disaster. Okay. So gold is not a great idea unless you're really diversifying a portfolio, and then buy a gold fund. So you don't have it to do. And there's one more thing here. Let me get the library out. Let's get us over to GSU Library. And this is just something I picked up earlier in the evening. But if you go down here, you can go to the Wall Street Journal. And let's see what the Wall Street Journal says about investing in gold, as long as we're here. This is a good place to go. And the way we got in here was we went to, do this more quickly. You can do this at your library. You're set up the same way, Tinker. W, databases by name, chose the Wall Street Journal. This is a ProQuest product. And we can just type in gold coins. And we want this to be the last, most recent, since 2020. And here it is. You bought gold at Costco. What are the taxes when you sell it? Learning the tax rules on gold could avoid costly mistakes. Bingo! And gold is glittering. Recently, the spot price was $2,360 an ounce, up about 21% in the past 12 months. Some buyers are snapping up gold bars and coins offered by Costco, while others are investing in funds holding bullion. Bullion is the bars, coins are coins. Many buyers don't know or care about taxes on gold sales because they see their hoard as a hedge against chaos instead of an asset like a stock. If they need to sell, goes the thinking, maybe there won't even be an Internal Revenue Service. James Grant, who is a gold investor as well as the founder and editor of Grant's Investment Rate Observer, disagrees. There will always be an IRS, and there will always be a Federal Reserve, he says. I buy gold as a long-term investment in monetary disorder. For many reasons, today's gold buyers could become tomorrow's sellers, and as this column often warns, it's the time to learn about the taxes on investment is before buying, not after. Being aware of the tax rules on gold sales could help avoid costly mistakes. Plus, the rules in this area can surprise even seasoned investors. The taxation of gold sales seems straightforward, but there's a lot of nuance people need to be aware of, says Eric Broncott, the head of tax at financial advisory firm Betterment. For example, net profits on gold sales are capital gains, but they're often taxed at higher rates than other capital gains. And while traditional Roth IRAs can hold gold coins or bars, the penalties for missteps are high. Here's what to know about taxes on gold and other precious metals, the basics. Under laws enacted in 1997, physical gold and precious metals like silver or palladium are collectibles. This category also includes furniture, jewelry, art, wine, stamps, and more. The sale of gold coins or bullion held outside retirement accounts typically produces either gains or losses. Net gains or losses are short-term if the gold was held for a year or less before sale, and long-term if it was held longer than a year. Tax rates on long-term federal capital gains. Long-term capital gains on gold sales are taxed at higher rates than those gains on assets like stocks, bonds, or real estate. For gold sellers whose top income tax bracket is 24% or below, the rate on net long-term gains is the same as the seller's top rate on ordinary income. The 24% bracket ends at $191,950 a year for a single filer, at $383,900 for joint filers. So if an investor has a 22% top rate on other income, the rate on net long-term gains on gold will be 22%, and it can be coins. This guy, where is he hiding these days? This guy on CloudHub has his head up his rear. USCoinCapital. Of course, he works for and he runs USCoinCapital.com. And we can take a look at that. Let's just say he's not disinterested. He would like you to buy coins, and he has them. Right there. And here's his store. I don't know what those are, but those are things he sells. These are investment packages. And it includes one Morgan dollar and 50 circulated silver half dollars for $915. Not good. But he looks like he's making, it looks like, see if it says if it says who runs it. Doesn't say who's in charge, just shows the coins below. Oh well. That's your guy. This, where is it? This is, we have to find him. This is your guy. And again, he's not right about the taxes and he wants to sell you stuff. So think twice. And the For Dummies book says, and we're all dummies when it comes to money. The For Dummies book says, don't. There are better ways to do it. Okay. Let's do our third topic while we're here. This kind of is a what if. I'm going to open our curtain again and take us over to Miro Land. This is Miro Land. And I kind of did a what if. My what if was, what if this guy over here hits the fan? Let's get, the fan was blue last time, it will still be blue. Coming your way today. If that happens economically, will gold be worth anything? Well, what I thought was, what happens in this situation? One of the first things I thought about was, I'm going to have to eat. I'm going to have to stay warm. That can be clothing, that can be heating fuel, that can be electricity. It would be nice to keep the power on. And last but not least, I would like to be safe. Okay. Now, everything's shut down. We're going to be trading, or we're going to be buying stuff. Who wants dollars? Wouldn't they be worthless? Or would we just use them out of habit, perhaps? Dollars are useless. Gold has always been a valuable commodity because it holds its value. We all consider it to be valuable. But what good is gold if we're in this kind of situation? That's the next question I ask. What good is gold? And that's beautiful. I know it doesn't show up. What good is gold? What do we use it for? And that led to another question. Right over here. What is gold used for? I can't eat it. Can I use it for tools? We can find out. That's my neighbors. They're loud. What we're going to want is to get our potatoes back out and put us on 100%. And I'm probably going to want to move us up a little bit. The way you would find this out quickly would be to look for gold on Wikipedia using Google. Gold. And this is another semi-known item search. I know that's not at all exciting. I get it. But if I'm going to invest in something for SHTF, I had better make my choices wisely. So let's look at gold in Wikipedia, and I'm going to get Google out, and I'm going to take most of this down, that I don't keep a messy screen. I'm going to make sure my curtain's down, and I'm going to look for gold and Wikipedia. Okay, what I need is the use of gold. Okay, lots of stuff here, lots of stuff here. We finally get to the uses of gold. Way down here, history. They make beautiful things out of gold. I mean, this stuff glitters. Culture, religion, production, extraction and refining, recycling, consumption. I guess that's use. The consumption of gold in the world is about 50% jewelry, 40% investments, 10% in industry. According to the World Council, China was the world's largest single consumer of gold, overtaking India. Okay, monetary use. Yep. Price. How do we use it? Okay, other applications, jewelry. I can wear it and it's pretty. Okay, so if I wanted to do makunegane, I could do that. I want to see if they have a picture. Gold solder is used for joining components of gold jewelry by high temperature hard soldering or brazing. If the work is to be of hallmarking quality, gold solder alloy must match the fineness of the work, blah, blah, blah. Only 10% of the world's new gold produced goes to industry, but by far the most important industrial use for new gold is corrosion-free electrical connectors in computers and other electrical devices. All right, if I knew somebody that was repairing computers, they might want this. So I think you have to use it in a clean room. A typical cell phone may contain 50 milligrams worth of gold, worth about $3. But since nearly 1 billion cell phones are produced each year, a gold value of 282 in each phone adds up to 2.82 billion. We have to get it all out of all the phones. Gold is attacked by free chlorine. Its good conductivity and general resistance to oxidation and corrosion in other environments has led to its spread in industrial use in the electronic era as a thin layer coating on electrical connections, thereby ensuring good connection. For example, gold is used in the connectors of the more expensive electronics cables such as audio, video, and USB cables. The benefits of using gold over a connector metal such as tin in these applications has been debated. Gold connections are often criticized by audiovisual experts as unnecessary for most consumers and seen simply as a marketing ploy. However, the use of gold in other applications, in electronic sliding contacts in highly humid or corrosive atmospheres, and in the use of contacts with a very high failure cost, certain computers and communications equipment remains very common. Besides sliding electrical contacts, gold is used for electrical contacts because of its resistance to corrosion. So if people were making sophisticated electronics, my gold would have a market. Gold would be useful. Is anybody making high-quality electronics after SHTF? There's a way to figure this out, whether we should own gold. There's another way to figure it out, since we know that gold isn't edible. It won't keep you warm. It might keep the power on if somebody was doing fancy electronic repair somewhere. I think it would get stolen. Could I still trade with it? Good question. And what we want to do is go looking for prepping, how to prep. Since I'm worried about the apocalypse, I probably want a beginning prep site. What would they advise me to do? So I'm looking for prepping, and I am looking for prepping for beginners. Beginners. And I just want the end between it. And again, this will be a Google search. And I don't know who is a good prepping site and who isn't, but we'll see if they suggest laying aside gold and silver in my emergency kit, or burying it somewhere in my yard, or whatever it is that you do with it. Of course, if it's in a mutual fund, the net's going to have to be up so that I can access my assets electronically. Okay, so this is what we're going to look up. Prepping for beginners. And let's get Google, and yes, I could truncate this. There, much better. Let's pull this over and let's have a look. And again, remember, this can go in either direction. Okay. Value Food Storage, they're selling stuff. The Prepared. Okay, emergency preparedness checklist, prepping for beginners. Beginner prepper, where to start. This is on Reddit. 5 practical tips for prepping for beginners. Rethink Rural. Okay. Prepping for beginners. Do you want to be better prepared for an emergency but aren't sure where to start? This is somebody who's prepping. I don't see any gold there.
but aren't sure where to start or if you're doing it right? Prepping for Beginners, the Emergency Preparedness Checklist, walks you through the basic steps with sane and expert verified advice for modern people. When you're done, you'll be ready to handle the majority of what may come your way. Whether you're worried about a sudden layoff, home invasions, car accidents, the power going out for a week, natural disasters, or long-term economic and social decline, SHTF, folks, it's critical that you start getting prepared now. By definition, if you wait until you need it, it's already too late. You are not alone. Millions of rational people from all walks of life are taking preparedness seriously. And the movement is growing as more people realize they can't depend on others to save them in our changing world. Don't just look for a single checklist and skip the reading. You will save yourself a lot of wasted money and time and be better prepared if you take a little bit of time to learn from others instead of making the same mistakes most beginners made when they try to skip the vegetables. The real trick to prepping, well, is knowledge and following the right path. So you need to build a solid personal and finance and health foundation. Get your home ready for 2 weeks of self-reliance. Be able to leave your home with a moment's notice. Bug out bags. Prepare for emergencies that might happen away from home. Get home bags an everyday carry, and they mean a gun. Learn more skills when you practice with your gear. Share and recruit while continuing to learn, going beyond the basics. Okay. Let's see. And they tell you don't buy an off-the-shelf kit. You can't predict when an emergency will happen, so a good prep is always ready. You cannot predict what's going to happen, so be diligent about finding and avoiding assumptions in your prep. Stay realistic and practical. Avoid zombie and Rambo fantasies. Don't let prepping overwhelm or defeat you. It's important to enjoy the good life now and not go down a dark spiral of doomsday depression. Ignore the noise and extremism. Prepping is better when you connect with like-minded people. Avoid double dipping your gear. It's tempting to pick stuff out of your bug out bag for a camping trip, for example, but then life gets in the way. Your gear stays scattered and creates windows where the emergency might strike. Planning ahead based on your risks. And here we have the 70-20 rule. Get your health and finances in order. Medical issues and financial difficulties are the most likely disruptions you'll face in your lifetime. Since you're a sane prepper, you prioritize most likely emergencies first. And since we're looking for gold, this part makes sense for us. All of the statistics around personal financial health are shockingly bad, particularly in the U.S. For example, 50% of Americans can't handle an unexpected $500 emergency, e.g. your expired warranty home furnace suddenly fails without using your credit cards. You should not spend money on gear or supplies beyond the essentials, e.g. 2 weeks of water in your home, without first having core financial preps such as a rainy day fund, debt reduction plan, and retirement savings. And here we have a similar story with personal health. Okay, let's look at the tips for normal people to turn their finances from problem to prepped. Okay. So what do they want us to do? Build a 3 to 6 month emergency fund, and that's to handle all the garbage that life throws at you. Start now. Due to compound interest. Improve your credit score. Pay yourself first. And this tells you to prioritize. Just look at your expenses. And again, I did that at one point. Make a budget and stick to it. I still don't see any gold. Okay, let's look for gold. Nope, let's look for silver. Let's look for precious metals. Okay. All right, so this is build a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. And then it says, eventually you can grow and diversify the emergency fund to include cash, precious metals you keep in your home, and emergency kits to use when SHTF. So that's an afterthought. You may include those, but once you have to have enough money before you do that. Okay, so we know these guys are good. Okay. This is somebody who just asked a very specific question. Okay, let's look for, let's see what their tips are. Stock up on food and water. Which means basically build a hoarded pantry, which I have right now, which I'm not happy with. Store what you eat what you store. It's really that simple. So rotate it through. And they suggest rice, canned soups, canned meats, just add water foods, ramen packs, oatmeal. I don't agree with all of this. Learn valuable survival skills. Learn how to cook from scratch. And here we have non-conventional cooking techniques. Learn how to adapt. Okay. And then we have an emergency preparedness plan. Exercise. Let's see if there's any gold. Let's see if there's any silver. Let's see if there's any precious metals. Well, yeah. These guys are concentrating on staying fed and warm. Okay, let's get to page 3. Prepping for the total beginner and survival prepper. Okay. And here we've got, this is a board, and let's see if anybody's talking about gold. Silver. I love that noise. Nothing. Okay, next one. Gold. Silver. So, bottom line, folks, when it comes to this, gold is not worth it. Don't do it. Thank you for watching. And remember, you can catch me live on Twitch.